Fr Russell Pollitt, good to chat to you today. Good to be with you. We have a new Pope, Pope Leo, but this was totally unexpected, or was it?
No, not at all, Ray. It was interesting. I was telling media during the week, it's not going to be an American. And I also thought that the conclave would be a bit longer. And on both of those, I was wrong and had to eat humble pie.
Who is Pope Leo? I mean, who is Robert Prevost? Who exactly is he?
He's a very interesting man. He was born, as we know, in Chicago. He joined the Order of St. Augustine. Augustine was one of the early fathers of the church. They place a lot of emphasis on harmony, on community, on studying, obviously, the works of St. Augustine. So he joined the Augustinians after he had had a mathematics degree from Villanova University. And then he was sent to South America, to Peru. And he spent most of his pastoral life in Peru. He was in administrative positions for the Augustinians. He was head of the Chicago province for a while, and then he was their superior general, so he would have spent time in Rome. But then he went back to Peru, and Pope Francis made him a bishop in Peru. And not so long ago, 2021, I think it was, called him to Rome to be the head of the dicastery for bishops. So it's the department in the Vatican. It's got a really important role because they get information from all over the world and they make a decision with the Pope as to who bishops should be. And we know that there are over 5,000 dioceses all over the world. So really having an influence on the church. But a quiet man, I mean, one that was never in the media spotlight or who had a big kind of profile at all. So interesting from that point of view.
Now, he also has very big shoes to fill because I'm thinking about Pope Francis and all that he did. And let's be honest, he was his own man and was quite an original Pope, I would think.
I think it's interesting because so far we've only heard really two talks of his. We heard the sermon at the first Mass with the cardinals, and we heard yesterday him talking to the cardinals. Of course, that brief appearance on the balcony, so I guess it's 3 times we've heard from him. But he seems to be suggesting that he's going to continue with the legacy of Pope Francis. Yet there's also other signs that he'll be his own man. And I think someone in that role has to be his own man, has to do things his way. He can't be Francis, he needs to be himself. And I think the name is very interesting because Leo was the Great, St. Leo the Great, was lived in around the year 400 in Rome, and he was a great himself diplomat. He stopped, for example, a group from coming through Rome and ransacking Rome. His diplomacy skills and his peacemaking skills were really important. Then we fast forward to the turn of the 19th century and we have Pope Leo XIII. And Pope Leo XIII wrote a key encyclical for the Catholic Church called Rerum Novarum, which put Catholic social teaching, so to speak, on the global agenda. And he spoke about the rights of workers. He spoke about, equality, pay, and things like trade unions. So was also someone who had this deep sense of social justice at the time of the Industrial Revolution. And this man, Leo XIV, steps into the shoes of those who went before him, which gives us some idea of what he's thinking and maybe where he wants to take the church.
Where do we stand with world peace? And, I'm just talking about, we've got Gaza, we've got Ukraine, etc., etc. Where do we stand with all of that? Because the Vatican has a role to play, but could it be a bigger role?
It's going to be very interesting to watch because I think that he is not, for example, going to buy into the policies of that administration when those who are poor or disenfranchised are going to become victims of a system. He's going to speak out. As you've pointed out, he already did. I mean, Vance saying, for example, we have to start just loving those around us. And he put on social media, Jesus never told us to love those around us, but to love everyone. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch 2 very different styles of leadership on each side of the Atlantic, a kind of real self-aggrandizement and so forth what we've seen in the last 3 months coming out of the US administration, and now a man who seems to be humble, quiet, yet quite sure of what he wants to say in the social arena. But another thought I had was, the migrant situation in North America and the people that the administration wants to send back to South America, you now have a pope who's from North America, who understands the situation in South America. And I wonder, being on the receiving side of many migrants, because, for example, I'm told he worked with Venezuelan migrants, what that will do in terms of bridging maybe North and South America. So it might be quite interesting to see what happens.
It will be interesting, but he may also ruffle some feathers. But can enough be done? I mean, we're looking at what's happening in Ukraine. We've got Gaza that rumbles on. Can enough be done by the Vatican to play a really solid role in ending this?
Pope Francis tried. And if you say, did anything end? We say no. Right. So did he fail? I think the key thing for the papacy at this time is that at the moment, we do not have a significant moral leader in the world. If one looks at politicians the world over, I don't think there is someone who stands out as a leader. In actual fact, for example, on the migration issue, I think very often we see politicians being very expedient and using migrants, like using vulnerable people, for their own political gain and expediency. And Pope Francis, we know, was very vocal about that. He went to places like the Central African Republic in the middle of a war. He appealed for peace. He brought the Sudanese leaders to Rome. He begged them to make peace. Those wonderful visuals of the Pope getting down on his hands and knees and kissing the feet of those Sudanese leaders. Sudan is still in the midst of a conflict. He spoke out very strongly about what was happening in Gaza, Ukraine. I think the role of the papacy is to keep the question of peace and some sort of moral direction in the public forum, which politicians are not going to do. Because the Pope is not invested, say, for example, like the Americans are invested in Israel. Whose weapons are Israel using? The weapons that Israel uses are supplied by America. There's a kind of economic thing going on there. The Pope doesn't have those problems as someone in a political arena. And so I think the important thing for the papacy is to keep these things in the global arena, to speak out, to try and be a moral voice. They may not always listen, but at least someone is appealing for those who find themselves the most vulnerable and the victims of these terrible, terrible acts of the rich and the powerful.
What is the significance of the first US Pope? We haven't seen this before.
Yes, it's very interesting. I've been pondering that. We thought, and I would have advocated 3 or 4 days ago, that it wouldn't be an American Pope, simply because the church is a strange institution, and you don't want to vest too much power in one geographical place. America is a superpower. America is, also politically and economically very powerful in the world. So one would have thought that the Pope would not have come from North America. So the first time, the 267th Pope, and only the first time we've had an American.
We have a younger Pope now, and we've had popes before who have been, I suppose, elderly. This means Pope Leo's got plenty of time.
He's 69, and he is quite young. I mean, he was younger than what Francis was and Benedict was. So I think, yes, we're in for a longer papacy because he looks like he's in good health, as far as we know. It is quite nice, I must say, to see a Pope who can actually move and is mobile, because we had Pope John Paul II who was immobile. Benedict got a bit slower. We know that Pope Francis suffered because of his physical condition. So watching a man who's walking and who's able to do things physically, I think is also very, very good for us to see a younger man. He will be Pope post the Trump presidency. I suspect the Trump presidency is going to realign global powers. It already is, if one looks what's happening in Europe and other parts of the world. And so I think as well, having a Pope there for a longer time in a kind of post-Trump world is also going to be very, very interesting.
Father Russell Pollitt of the Holy Trinity Church in Braamfontein, thank you so much for your insight and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.